Hello, my name is Dominic Wadagno. Sorry about that. My name is Dominic Wadagno. I am a senior physics major at Adelphi University. I'm actually a math physics dual major, but that's neither here nor there. I work under Professor Matthew Wright, um, and right now we are working on an experiment regarding quantum beat spectroscopy in rubidium atoms. So, as you can see here, this is a two-level system, an example, in the time domain. So you have right? I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that, where you have a ground and an excited, and you want to use a laser. Well, we use a laser to excite the atom up into the excited state, and then it will emit light, right, and go back down to the ground. So in the time domain, right, what you'll see on a scope, an oscilloscope, if that's what you're using, is something like this, right? It's like an exponential decay graph. Um, However, with rubidium, or more specifically, the fine structure of rubidium, it's a little different. You have five sublevels, and we call them F levels. Um, so you start with the F equals 2 state here, and then it excites up into these four states, right? The F prime 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And then after it's all excited, it then decays back down to the F3 and F2 states. You can see here. So that spectrum is shown here. This is an example of what you'll see. It's like around every 32 megahertz, you'll see the signal, um, this big peak here. This one's not, yeah, so it is not perfect yet. We're still trying to work out the details, but it's not the best, but this is what we got going on so far. And that was from this system here. So we have a laser going into an ALM. It's an acousto-optical modulator. The idea with the acousto-optical modulator is that it diffracts the beam into two different. So, well, it diffracts the beam, so you have your zeroth order, which is the beam that went in, that's unchanged, except for some frequency things, but that we don't worry about that. And then you have your first order beam, which is what we really care about, because we also pulse this AOM. So it's driven at a 1 megahertz signal, and so essentially what happens is the laser light turns on and off. It's pulsed. And this on and off phenomenon, it pulses at around like 40 nanoseconds. The reason it's not 1 nanosecond is because it there's a lot of noise, and what you're doing essentially is you're colliding the photons with phonons, and a phonon is like a sound particle. So it's not a very clean, well, it is a very clean collision, but there's a lot going on there. So it's not like a perfect collision, you know. It's more of a scattering situation. That's what I was trying to say. So the first order beam is pulsed, and it goes into a fiber coupled electrical optical modulator, an EOM, which is similar to the AOM, where it pulses the light, but there's no diffraction going. Well, yeah, you don't see the diffracted beam at all. So it goes into the EOM, and then it goes out fiber over here into a beam cube, where we can see some of the light over here in a photodiode, and that gives us the intensity spectrum, and then the rest goes into the rubidium cell, and we look at the fluorescence. So the reason for this little polarizer here is you have when you excite the rubidium atom, what you see is like, if you look at its wave function, right? You have these lobes essentially, right? According to like spherical harmonics and all this stuff, but in time that rotates around. Um, and then that just falls from Schrodinger's equation, right? You have this wave function that's like rotating in time, and as it just keeps rotating. So we have this polarizer here, so it essentially locks it into a specific orientation, because the spectrum would look like a lot of different. You'd have a lot of these different wave functions. Um, Really through from the AC Stark shift, you'd have like a lot of different orientations that are just like coming out with different energy levels. But with the polarizer there, it locks you into it only allows for a specific frequency, or I guess rather intensity of the light to come out. And that's what we measure here with this photodiode. And that's what we measured here that I showed the diagram before. So these are some examples of the data we've gotten, and these are as well. So this is, let me, yeah, so we drive the AOM, EOM, and the phase modulator that I'll talk about a little bit at the 1 megahertz signal, and this is what it looks like, the signal that we send. And this here is the laser. After we pulse the laser, it looks something like this. Now, yeah, this is the frequency, this is essentially the intensity. It's voltage versus time because it's through an oscilloscope, but it has a linear relationship. So as I've said, we look at the fluorescent signal here from the rubidium cell, and then we get something like this. And it's not perfect, and there's a couple of reasons for that. A lot of the data looks like this. This is another example of the same experiment. We get like these mixed results where you can see some beating like you do here, and some other where it's like almost out of phase a little bit, but you get like more of these peaks going on. And the reason for that, it took us a while to figure it out, but we believe that it is the AC Stark shift. So the reason we think it's the AC Stark shift is because there's like a little bit, as you can see here, there's not like total extinction in the intensity spectrum. That's just an example, but you can see it here, especially like you have all this noise right here. So in order to counteract that, we are trying to use this new system. So we have this here. This is very similar to this one, except so the laser goes into the AOM, it's pulsed, goes into this fiber coupled EOM, and then it goes into this intensity modulator. So the intensity modulator is something that we've made ourselves, and it's right here. This is that schematic. So the fiber output is right here into a quarter wave plate, just a beam cube, and then another quarter wave plate, and into this fiber where there's a phase modulator. So the phase modulator is there, and it's going to, and then it goes out this polarizing beam cube. So the idea with this is it's going to act as an intensity modulator where it will take the light and it'll extinct. So it'll stop having that like little bit of like noise in there. It'll try to cancel that out, and we'll just get like a nice peak, as well as some pulsing because we also pulse this phase modulator. So it's like a win-win situation. You'll get both a narrower pulse and not total extinction because I don't think that's possible, but you'll get very close to a total extinction in this light here. So we're hoping to pulse of like 10 nanoseconds or less, and hopefully that'll be possible with this situation here. And then yeah, it's just the same thing, except I guess instead of a beam cube here, we have a glass plate. So the glass plate, uh, as I'm sure a lot of you know, what happens when you shine light at glass, it will some of it will reflect and some of it will transmit. So the transmitted light is our intensity spectrum. That's what's here, and then the light. Oh, I'm sorry. The reflected light is our intensity spectrum, but the transmitted light is the rubidium spectrum. So yeah, thank you for listening to my poster presentation. Oh, well, there's a couple things I should mention, like here, intensity modulator. So the AOM is pulsed, but the reason we don't have like, for example, these things in reverse, the EOM before the AOM, is because the EOM is like this crystal structure thing, and if you put too much power in it at once, it will break. And I know that from experience. The phase modulator is also a crystal. It's a similar device in that sense. And I accidentally put too much voltage and an AC voltage through there, and it broke. I mean, we were able to fix it, but it broke. So if we put the EOM right here, it would be putting way too much power through it, right? Because it's not pulse, so you would get it would break it. What happens? Why we put so when we put the AOM here, it pulses the laser. So the time average power is below 5 milliwatts. Um, so what that means is you could have the laser shooting light at like 40, 50 milliwatts, but because it's pulsed, the time average power is only around 5 and your equipment's safe. Um, what else do we have here? Locking no more we can use. Yeah, we get high power because of our pulsing, and we're hoping to get, I'm very optimistically hoping to get around 1 nanosecond. And I should mention the reason we want this pulse so narrow is because we want to see. Well, I think I did mention that already. All right. So thank you for your time and thank you for listening to my poster presentation. I hope to see you at SPSCon. Thank you.